Welcome to this week's edition of Stony Brook Newsbreak. I'm Erin Witterhan.
And I'm Kayla Lewis.
Here are today's top stories. A fragile ceasefire is at risk in the Middle East today after attacks were reported in Lebanon and Iran. The gunfire continued 2 days after President Donald Trump said he and Israel had agreed to a halt in hostilities with Iran nearly 6 weeks into the war. On Tuesday, Iran met Trump's hard deadline for a ceasefire deal brokered by Pakistan with a 10-point plan to get the Strait of Hormuz back open. That agreement came hours after Trump threatened on Truth Social to punish Iran if it refused to open the strait. Some 20% of the world's oil supplies flow through the juncture. Trump threatened to wipe out the entire country and mock the Islamic religion. The post sparked rage on both sides of the political aisle, with many conservatives, including Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, calling out the president. Pope Leo XIV and French President Emmanuel Macron also condemned Trump's comments.
The congressional seat held by conservative firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene will be filled by Clay Fuller, a fellow Republican. But the race to replace Greene was closer than would normally be expected in the ruby red Georgia district. Democrat Sean Harris pulled 46% of nearly 139,000 votes cast. Greene stepped down in January. She is now at the center of a growing political feud between President Donald Trump and former supporters. In recent statements, she has openly challenged him, even going as far to support calls to invoke the 25th Amendment. That constitutional mechanism allows for the removal of a sitting president from under office in certain conditions. Trump backed Greene's replacement and publicly criticized her, deepening the divide between the two figures.
The infamous Gilgo Beach homicide suspect guilty plea this week ends years of speculation about who killed up to 8 women in a 17-year-long killing spree. The relatives of the slain women found some relief when Rex Hoyman pleaded guilty to 7 murders in exchange for not being charged with an 8th in Suffolk County Court. The case went unsolved until a breakthrough in 2022, when investigators reopened the case after they identified a suspect vehicle leading to Hoyman's arrest in 2023. The Gilgo Beach murders happened between 1993 and 2010. In court on Wednesday, he admitted to strangling 7 of the victims and dumping the bodies at Gilgo Beach, Manorville, Southampton. He also admitted to using a burner phone to contact and lure these victims to their deaths. Hoyman is facing life in prison without parole. Now here's our weather correspondent, Stephanie, with a look at the forecast for the upcoming days. Stephanie?
Thank you, Erin. Spring is flourishing on campus this afternoon as cherry blossom season is finally here. Temperatures will remain warm this afternoon with a high of 48 degrees before cooling down to a low of 28 degrees for a windy evening. Tomorrow's forecast will continue to be relatively sunny, hitting high 50s that sets us up for a beautiful weekend with temperatures approaching 60 degrees. The Groundhog 6-week curse has finally been lifted with more sunshine next week, so bust out those sunglasses and enjoy the lovely weather as spring finally blooms. This is Stephanie Harding. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Stephanie. Savannah Guthrie has returned to NBC's Today Show after a 2-month absence, resuming her role as co-anchor while the search for her mother, Nancy Guthrie, continues. Savannah Guthrie had been away since January 30th, one day before her mother was last seen outside her home in Tucson, Arizona. She appeared composed but emotional as she rejoined Craig Melvin on the Today Show. In a new development, authorities disclosed recently surfaced notes that present conflicting claims about her status. One note stated that Nancy Guthrie is dead, while a second claimed that she was alive with captors in Sonora, Mexico. Police continue to search for witnesses or surveillance footage that might shed a light on her disappearance. And that concludes this week's Stony Brook Newsbreak. Stay tuned for next week's edition. I'm Kayla Lewis.
And I'm Erin Witterhan.
Have a great week, Seawolves.